This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and I am ready to present to you the latest in yesterday's information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. Bear with me for a second. We got a little double recording going, so you'll hear that slightly. But let's get into the news for today. Your go-to supplemental source for both mainstream and unconventional news stories is us right here, with some added context of things you may have missed. In the queue, 8 stories from yesterday that you deem conversational. We'll present to you today because you got to get the stories from what's in there, and you can get a chance to go into how we craft these stories, make them conventional, make them conversation. We'll explain that in just a bit with the headline process, plus some fun things for today to get you through today, some things you're going to love. So stick around for the end. You will enjoy it. I want to remind you that our website is listed at this. It's a conversationproject.com for more information about the full offerings that we have. Plus, the email address is conversationinbox@gmail.com. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. Let's get into the headlines for today. No particular order as they're presented. We will let you know kind of where they kind of landed in what's going on. And we'll explain how they got here and why we picked these in particular. When we get to the teaser story, we'll explain how the feeds work. As I said, February 21st, 2024. Here are the headlines. 8 of them for you today. Starting off with the hero that we all deserve. That is Franklin from the Peanuts. Welcome home, Franklin. Peanuts' first black character gets an origin story, a new Apple TV Plus series. Special words that aren't working so well in my mouth. And it's terrible because Franklin deserves this. Much love to Franklin. Apple TV Plus is having a Peanut special called Snoopy Presents Welcome Home, Franklin, and is offering an origin story for Franklin, the first black character in the Peanuts comic strip. If you know him famously, he showed up in the first strip and just introduced himself to Linus saying, "Hi, I'm Franklin." And Linus says, "I'm very glad to meet you." This was a way to add some diversity to the Peanuts gang for the comic strip. And of course, famous for, the dancing guy in all the specials because he's black, I guess. And hanging out with Charlie Brown and Pepper and Patty at the Thanksgiving dinner. The big part about this is it's an Apple Plus TV. So you have to have an Apple TV Plus subscription, probably an Apple TV Plus little boxy thing. So that's extra money on that one. We have way too many subscriptions, so we don't watch anything on Apple Plus. So we've not seen a Peanut special in years since they're all exclusively now on Apple. So sharing the love of the world, not exactly what's happening with Craig Schultz, the son of Charles Schultz, as the executive producer and co-writer of the special. And he spoke about this, saying the relevance of telling Franklin's story, having an actual story of how he existed, is great for the importance of diversity and representation. Too bad most of us won't get a chance to see it unless you bootleg it. And I'm not condoning that. No, not at all. Let's go to story number 2. That 70s show actor Danny Masterson transferred out of maximum security prison. Very simple story in this one. He's been moved from one prison to another, out of the maximum security to a minimum security in California. He's serving 30 years to life for rape charges, maintained his innocence, and pled not guilty to 3 counts of rape at his first trial beginning back in fall of 2022, eventually convicted. And now we're seeing all this sort of drama behind him, some Scientology drama, and just issues with him and his, ex-wife. I believe they're actually divorced at this point going forward. Danny Masterson is being moved out of the max security prison to minimum security prison, still working on his 30 years he has to serve. Headline for the story at the 3rd spot this morning. The Color Purple actor Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor slams film for sanitizing, that's her words, lesbian romance. She is calling out the Color Purple movie musical for sanitizing its black lesbian romance. Now, let's get this straight here. If you watched the original Color Purple or read the book, that's not the point. But if you've seen the updated musical and the movie based on the musical, it gets a really, really, really gay really quickly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just is what it is. There's a extra layer to the relationship with Celie and Suge in the musical that gets a little bit extra into this thing. And basically the movie essentially sanitizes that, essentially to, I guess, appease viewers who didn't know what they're getting to, even though once they got there, they figured out what they're getting to. Aunjanue says, or Ellis-Taylor says, there should be more representation and more people who are queer, more women who are homosexual, just more queers in general, and black women, for representation of themselves. And this is a representation of themselves that got whitewashed from the actual story that made it part of what it was. And so if you've seen it, I've not seen it yet, so I can't really judge on the sanitation. I've seen the play, and Yes, there is a lesbian romance, and it is pretty detailed to the plot. Let's just put it like that. And we're going to move on from there. Story number 4 for this morning. Headline for that one reads: Charles Barkley settles rumors of dating legendary Madonna once and for all. And the rumors settled are he didn't actually date her. He went out to dinner a few times, hung out with her, but there was no affair, no romantic relationship. It was just friends. Him and Madonna, him and Mads, just hanging out back in the day. That's all it is. Barkley stands by his denials of any romantic involvement, aiming to set the record straight in the nature of his connection with Madonna. Why is Charles Barkley in the news so much these days? Some things are actually poignant, where he talked about to Adam Silver about the NILs when he's bouncing back and forth with Draymond Green. I guess that's kind of relevant because it's there. Why we're talking about him and Madonna? I don't know, but you guys apparently liked it. You guys engaged in it, so it's there. We'll explain the whole engagement in the conversation part in just a bit. But you guys want to talk about Charles and Madonna, and there is no Charles Madonna, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. Your mileage may vary on that one. YouTube vlogger Ruby Franke, business partner Jodi Hildebrandt, sentenced in child abuse case. Ruby Franke, the YouTube vlogger known for family-oriented content, and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, have been sentenced in a child abuse case. Franke's 42, Hildebrandt's 54. Each pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The court sentenced them to 1 to 15 years in prison for each count, with the sentences to run consecutively. So it's all at the same time. So they won't spend more than 15 years together. The case revolved around allegations of torture towards Franke's 2 youngest children, including a 12-year-old boy. Franke issued an apology statement at her sentencing, marking the conclusion of the legal process that drew significant attention due to her online presence. This is a very complicated story, and not in the fact that, a parent and a person did torture to their kids. But the problem is they were basically doing content that was kid-friendly, doing content that was family-oriented, and just showing how good families act, and literally having their children locked in basements. It's nuts, for lack of a better word. But right now we finally see the end of this one, some conclusion to this one, more or less end to at least the end of the trial part. We'll see what happens when they get out and what happens on their second act going forward, because there always are second acts. Here's a second act that, we may have wanted to avoid. Airbnb host sued by guest for sending his wife photo of him with another woman after he refused to pay $960 in fees and left bad review. Let's get into the story because it's a bit of read. So let me get to the read and get straight from the robot editor. An Airbnb guest, Sean Mackey from Mississippi, is suing Airbnb and the host, identified as Superhost, that's how she's identified, Pamela Fowler, over a privacy invasion incident. The controversy began after Mackey reportedly refused to pay $960 in additional fees, left a negative review for his stay. In response, Fowler took a security photo of Mackey, quote, in the company of another female, unquote, and emailed the image to his wife, alleging an attempt to extort him or inflict emotional distress. Legal case has highlighted significant concerns regarding privacy, security camera uses, and the handling of disputes between hosts and guests on Airbnb platform. And what we're finding out about these things is they're not quite the dream that you thought they are. Because you think you're a great person doesn't mean that you're all that great. And trust me, I've dealt with people in rental properties, and going for that one, people that don't own their stuff, that live in your place, don't take care of your stuff. It's a fact. It just is what it is. So we'll see how this one plays out, obviously, in court. The number 7 story. U.S. blocks ceasefire call with the 3rd UN veto in Israeli-Hamas war. Very quickly, because we're running out of time. The United States vetoed the UN Security Council resolution to call for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Call it a conflict, call it a war. They're shooting at each other, and it's not so great. This is the 3rd time the U.S. has actually said we don't want a ceasefire. We want the Israelis to kind of work it out as best as possible, because we are their biggest allies going forward, that one. And the ceasefire could work out not so great for both sides, if you will. This is one both sides isn't where it kind of works out. Essentially, a resolution to the conflict, instead of just putting down guns and just kind of mulling over it and just kind of sulking, isn't exactly right there. However, what's happening right now isn't exactly the best path forward, as if you're from a PR standpoint, it looks really, really bad from both sides. Both-sidism again. The big issue is the U.S. doesn't think Israel should just put down arms and let this one go. But the problem is the resolution is not a clear one. And the 8th story for this morning. Donnell Rawlings defends Laugh Factory showdown with Corey Holcomb. So this is something that happened a few days ago, and now we've had a couple times to go back and forth, and some chances to actually get into some responses from Rawlings, who's actually talking about what happened in the issue, although it didn't really go deep into it, other than two comedians yelling at each other at the Laugh Factory. If you're watching the video, you see the pictures up there. We got lots of love and lots of watermarks from TMZ, which is what this version from. But the original story we posted was about the beef from some other sites, and we had that. We combined the two for this one, so this is the one that is reigning. But trust me, the two themselves were very conversational. We'll explain the data on that in a moment. Donnell Rawlings recently found himself in a heated situation with fellow comedian Corey Holcomb at the Laugh Factory. Rawlings has come forward to defend his actions during the incident. According to various sources, the confrontation occurred during one of Holcomb's comedy sets at the Laugh Factory, with Rawlings not taking kindly to some aspects of Holcomb's performance. Rawlings' defense of his actions highlights the intense and sometimes competitive nature of stand-up comedy, where disagreements over content and delivery can escalate, sometimes live in the show. The specifics of the disagreement or what was said during the confrontation have not been detailed, but the incident has been sparking discussions within the comedy community about boundaries, respect, and the dynamics of live performances, i.e. we see various things like the Carlos Mencia thing, where he's doing jokes and Joe Rogan is sitting to the sides, yelling at him because Mencia was known for selling jokes, stuff like that. Is that cool? Is that kosher? No, it really isn't. But we'll have more debate for that, and it's really a discussion for the comics who are trying to police themselves in these issues. Let's get into the apologies, errors, and omissions. I think we're good for getting the pictures up in the video today. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back on that one. But we'll say one story that we're not having time to cover is, and very quickly because we're running late today, Jon Stewart fires back at backlash to his Daily Show return. Both sidism again as criticism for Jon Stewart, because essentially talking about his coverage for the election stuff coming in hot with Biden and Trump takes, basically saying they're both kind of suck because they both kind of suck. And people who are more Democratic are saying, you're going to ruin it, John. You're making people think that Biden's just as bad as Trump when he's not. And the answer is, yes, they're both pretty terrible choices, which is sort of the point and why we're in this state as we are in, because they're both the best choices that both sides have to offer. And they're both terrible choices. Let's move on to our teaser so we can tell you how we get to where we get to on this day. The teaser story is a headline that we could possibly talk about tomorrow that, if you deem it worthy, it's there. Now, yesterday for our teaser, we put up Melania Trump using her office as a gift wrapping room and no takers on that one. That was one you didn't engage in. Today, let's try this one here. Headline reads, trial to begin over handwritten lyrics to Eagles Hotel California. And as we record this, we present this live, starts at 6:50 a.m. Central Time. It's going to be a few hours before this one gets posted. So by the time you see this on a replay or as you go back and check things, it will be there in a few hours from then. If you're in replay, it may be there now. So it's probably there already. But check out this story and you go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, and you can read and engage in it. You'll see it out there in the ether if you're looking for it right now. This is a Conversation Project that is at us on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/this is Conversation Project. And on Twitter, th_conversation. So it's x.com/th_conversation. On our feeds, every 50 minutes, we give you news stories to engage in, like, love, hate, share. And it takes a while to get to some of these pretty in these cases, because we spread them out over, the 30 hours we have to pull for these things. But you will see this story and other stories every 50 minutes. And all you do is go to our feeds, go to Facebook, go to Twitter. And when you see something that you like, love, hate, like it, love it, and hate it, share it with folks. The more engagement you give to the higher chance we have to talk about it. Today's 8 stories, including the 9th little quick one we did, were pulled from the 15 top stories of yesterday. So if it's top 15 story, we have a chance to pull it as the curated stories for the day. If this one's in top 15, it's definitely there. Melania Trump, not there, so we didn't talk about her. We could talk about the Eagles. This is one I think people want to get into, because the handwritten lyrics on Hotel California have been disputed for many, many years. And there's now a trial case, a criminal case, to try to figure out what to do with them. Let's talk about our sponsor we're going to spotlight for the day. That happens to be the Blinkist app. Go to this is the conversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist to get the Blinkist app and catch up on all the books that you've not had a chance to read, because you can do it quickly. Yesterday, I'll use a personal example. Yesterday, I had some downtime. I found out that a meeting that I was going to have, I was early for it, so I had for 30 minutes of free time. So I opened up and listened to a book, weirdly enough, by Ben Shapiro, because I listen to all sides, if you will, and tried to listen to it, and then was, interrupted in the middle trying to get that done with the time I had that. But the meeting was then canceled. So in the time that the meeting existed that I had blocked off, I finished the book. I could have finished it in the first iteration because it was about 15 minutes of a listen, audiobook wise, or I could have read it in the blinks there. Blinkist takes the books that you might want to read, nonfiction and autobiographies, and breaks them down into blinks, the actual real details, none of the fluff, none of the extra stuff, none of the whining. So it was a lot less whining reading Ben Shapiro in this version, because it wasn't a 3-hour read. It was only 15 minutes, and it was just the points going on there. Most of them I disagreed with, but it's new content in my head. You can also share the love of Blinks and Blinkist with other folks with Blinkist Spaces. And they don't have to actually have the app. You buy the app, you share the book in a space, you share the space with other people, and they can listen to it, they can read it, you can engage in those stories as well. Great way to have a book club if you're short on things. My Blinkist book club is also a thing we create every so often. A little behind on that one, but we're gonna get that back into rotation so you can see more books for you. So look out for the Blinkist Book Club, which is sponsored by Blinkist, and look out for this app. Go to our website and click the link for this, because it's an affiliate link. It allows us to get a bit of commission if you download the app yourself. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist for more on the Blinkist app. As we say, you can read books, unabridged and long form books in 15 minutes or less in most cases for the Blinkist app. We're going to take a moment to go and talk about the Conversation Project, and we're going to do this in a long form way. This is usually where we do a quick talk about partnerships and talk about the things we do here at the Conversation. This is February. This is our month of love, if you will. And we do a very long, very extensive, and very sort of annoying pledge drive. But we have to do this because we're trying to get an extra $200 of added incoming monies, funds to keep things going every month. And this is the month where we do that. This is the month where we push that heavy. So here are some ways you can help us out and get to that $200 mark. Starting off with the website. This is theconversationproject.com. That is where we are. Our Facebook page and our Twitter page, X page, the feeds we talked about already. Facebook.com/this is the Conversation Project, and Twitter.com or X.com/th_conversation. On TikTok and YouTube, you can find us at the Conversation Project there as well. So we have the long form video. You may be watching this on your YouTube, or you may just have watching it on Facebook or on X. We have the short takes that are on YouTube Shorts there and on TikTok throughout the day that gives you short takes, my ideas on some stories. Some of them you may not like, some of them you may like, but we do that so you get more details and things going on throughout the day. On the podcast stage, go to our website and click on the links for the various places you can find our podcast, or just go to your podcatcher and search for the shows we have. This is things you might have heard, so look for that in your podcatcher. It is probably there. Subscribe to us. That means be a partner by going to buymeacoffee.com/jcliffandpayne. You can pay us directly with Cash App or Venmo at jcliffandpayne, or go to our partnerships page at our website, and all those links are there and descriptions of why you might want to partner up with us. The big reason why you might want to partner up with us is that this thing here takes up time, takes up energy, takes up money. And I, like most people who aren't silver play button, gold play button people, I have a day job that pays my bills. This doesn't pay the bills. This is more right now a bit of weird therapy, if you will. But it does take time, energy, effort, and some people get something out of it. Some people get good news out of it. So to help more people get good news out of this, good news as in good news coverage, because we're aggregated, not necessarily good news, because some of these stories are really, really bad, we could appreciate the help. We thank you so much for all of your help. Let's move on and get out of here. Let's wrap it up today with your fun stuff for today. Fun stuff happens every single day. We always begin fun stuff with birthdays on the day. Today's birthday, we're going to spotlight is Kelsey Grammer. And for some reason, I just got in my head because it sounds like it's funny. Kelsey Grammer singing Country Grammar by Nelly is some reason just cracking me up right now. But Kelsey Grammer, who is actually a big fan to the urban scene, big fan to urban television, the man behind Girlfriends of all things, and weirdly enough, revising his show Frasier, which I don't think is very good, but hey, money. He's 69 years old on the day. He is not quite old enough to run for president because you have to be 80 apparently, I guess. Also wishes a Jordan Peele at 45-year-old, and Elliot Page, 37 years old today. History lesson for today. 1958. The peace symbol was designed and completed by Gerald Holcomb, commissioned by Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament in protest against the atomic weapons research establishment. Of course, the peace sign was brought about to protest atomic bombs, and now it's been, overused and overtaken, and now girls have it in charms and things like that, and it's all sort of weird stuff. But incorporated originally to basically be a symbol to basically fight the atomic weapons. Now it's been overtaken by everything. Oh, by the way, today is World Kombucha Day. Kombucha Day. Kombucha has been around for about 2,000 years, we believe. Believed to be brewed first time in the Qing Dynasty. I'm totally butchering that. In 2221 BC, 200 years old. It is basically a fermented tea that many people drink and some people overdrink. I'm not a fan, so you can have your kombucha by yourself. But today, World Kombucha Day was begun in 2020, and it's celebrated every February 21st or 2/21. I think that means something. I'm not a kombucha guy, so I don't know. Somebody can tell me in the comments what that's all about. I got 420, don't get 2/21. In the meantime, we've wrapped up for this day's version of Things You Might Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and I thank you so much for being with us for the show to do this things, giving you the good news coverage, not necessarily good news, because some of these stories today weren't all that good. Danny Masterson and the Franke story, not good stories for the day. We want to remind you that we are here all the time, all day, all night via our website and our feeds. The website, this is theconversationproject.com. The feeds on Facebook and Twitter, where you can engage in the news stories. And for tomorrow morning, I will know what to talk about because you will tell me what stories. Top 15 stories of yesterday, or today, will be presented tomorrow, which is today, with 8 of those stories pulled out to give you into our cast here. That's how it works out here. That's how the feeds work. Make sure you consider being a partner. Go to our website and look at that. Looking for sponsors there as well and help us out. We need more cash. It's that simple. We need more money, more resources to make things happen a little easier. Stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the grand things you're here to do. Love you, mean it. Have a great Wednesday, and we will do this again in some shape or fashion. We're going to do it again tomorrow.